It is 9:30 p.m.
Okay.
And what is it, mid-afternoon for you at the moment?
Yeah, 2:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2:30
Wait, is it uh Thursday?
p.m.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2:30 p.m.
Thursday.
Thursday. Yeah, yeah. So you're just a bit behind. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Wow. Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I'm
Cool.
Tristan, and obviously you know Brett.
Hello, Tony. Yeah, love the shirt, man.
Oh yeah, thank you.
They just
Yeah.
arrived.
Like literally just arrived, and
Oh
I
wow.
I put this on about 10 minutes ago.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Good product placement.
They're comfy shirts as well. Hey, I was just like, I want to try it on. Like, we made sure to get like decent quality t-shirts, not
Yeah.
just something with our logo on it. So I wanted to try it out,
Yeah.
and here we are. Not deliberate at all.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Oh man.
I thought maybe like a good way to start would be maybe if we ask you a little bit about how you came to join the army and a little bit about that.
Okay. Cool. Cool. So right now, starting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, I came from a military. Well, first of all, I'm Antonio Vereen. I was born and raised in Hampton, Virginia for a while. But my parents, my father was in the military, career military soldier. So I was born in '73. He joined the army shortly after that in '74. And I've lived all over the world. So I come from that military structured background. My father said orders were executed type of background. So what? Somewhat, but yeah. So it was the summer of '92, and I had graduated out of high school, and I absolutely had enough of going to school. And so, the smart choice for me was to join the military because I had been around it all my life. Um, and I actually knew it was so easy because I saw, the amount of power and authority that my father had, and I was like, I could do that for a couple years, So, so that was the key. The plan was only staying for 4 years in the military. And that ended up being 23 after,
Wow.
a good amount, yeah, extensive time. But yeah, I don't regret any of my military career. I regret some of the people I met, but I don't regret, the camaraderie, the esprit de corps. I don't regret any of that. I don't regret anywhere I've ever been or anything I've ever done.
And for
So
me, I think it's been really interesting. Like I've like literally from the moment that you said that you'd speak with us, I've like both Tristan and I have been like so excited to like get the opportunity to talk to you
I appreciate it.
because um, I we can only imagine that you would have some amazing stories to tell and how that's influenced or shaped your life and obviously how you've been able to help others do that as well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then I think like in the meantime, so in between when we first connected and then obviously
Hmm.
now, I've also been speaking to Afik, who's in
Okay.
Syria right now,
Right, right.
who's lost family, who's lost
Yeah,
friends in the war, and
yeah,
so it's really interesting for me to get to this point now where we get to talk to you and hear some of the things that
yeah.
you've experienced during your military time as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, ask away. To us, it always seems boring, but to other people, it's kind of like Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not really shy about my service. So, and I've got a little heartburn from some of my former colleagues, just speaking out about certain things. But, I don't have any ties to the military anyway, so you can ask me and I'll tell you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would like to know is, so I guess how far did you go in the military in terms of I guess your rank and how did that happen?
Yeah, so I got up to, if you're pretty familiar with the military structure, to an E7 or Sergeant First Class, which is about the third highest person in the ring, of the higher senior enlisted side, of it, not the officer side, but just most all enlisted. So yeah, I had a great opportunity. What I did as a job was a logistician. So basically, I supplied everything from the bullets to the ammunition to the weapons to buildings, where whatever the mission dictated. That's what I was in charge of doing, just making sure that the soldiers had everything that they needed. Um, and so it getting promoted in the military is very arduous. It's based on what you're doing now, what you've done in the past, and what potential we think will you'll fill in this new role. And when anyone will tell you who served in the military is that even if I promote you, we don't expect you to grow into that role until 2 and 3 years. So you've got to mature and matriculate into that role, enough, but you're given an awesome responsibility. I mean, you're talking about now the average young 20, 21 year old is going to be in charge of anywhere from 4 to 5 people, and he has no idea how to wipe his own ass, excuse me, and all of a sudden he's in charge of other lives. So that responsibility continues to grow and grow and grow as you serve your time in the military. But I was just very, very fortunate to be in some great units, that had some great people, but had great challenges, and people that just were there to do the job. So that's why I say I'd never regret the organizations and stuff that I was in. It's just some of the people I regret meeting. But I mean, that's with anything. I'm finding that now in corporate America, you're gonna not like some people. So it is what it is.
And do you find that your military background serves you well in what you're doing now? Does that help?
Yeah, it does, but where I work now, I'm in a defense branch of my corporation. So it's kind of like we have a military structured mindset, even though we're not following the whole regimented way of life. We're not calling each other by ranks, and we're not doing things like that. But yeah, it actually has helped me a lot. It has, and I will tell you, it's helped me more as far as in the managing aspect. A lot of the guys that I work with already are just natural born leaders. So I'm not having to do a lot of leading. I'm doing a lot of managing and a lot of operations, the behind the scenes stuff. But yeah, my absolutely my last job in the military really prepared me. I had no idea, but really prepared me for what I'm doing now. So yeah.
Do you think being in the military so long and having that structure has influenced how you operate just in everyday life, outside of work, outside of employment, anything like that, just with family, friends, how you tackle things?
A little bit, but not to the sense like what you see on a lot of television shows where you see guys come out the military and they still, have the high and tight haircut and walking around, with tight clothes. Most of my friends will tell you I'm like one of the most, when you see me, just for instance, when I used to take vacations or be off for a couple days, what you see on my face would instantly grow in. I was one of the person that didn't want to always think and be in the military all the time. So my mil- all of the traits that I learned have helped me, but they help me subconsciously. I'm not always physically thinking about them or mentally thinking about them every day. Or what did I do when I was in this situation, or what I do? It has become like almost muscle memory. It's become muscle memory where certain things will happen, and my mind will remember, and my body will react, and it's like in a flow, if that makes any sense. So I don't consciously sit around. Like I don't get up early every morning and do 100 push-ups or anything like that. I don't do, I get up and I meditate, and that's something I did towards the end of the military, and and I do the gratitude thing. But yeah, I don't go and run miles and then come back and drink black coffee and get ready to start everything. I don't do those things anymore.
And how does,
Yeah.
I mean, for me, and I've had no experience at all with,
Hmm.
I guess, with people in the military, to be honest, let alone myself. So for me, like you said before, everything I know is from TV and movies and that kind of thing. And I know you
The
can only take
movies,
so
yeah.
much of that as the truth. So for me,
Yeah.
it's a little bit hard to imagine that, you wouldn't get some hazing or you wouldn't get some, some tough times for meditating in in the army.
Well, I was stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and if you know anything about Fort Bragg, it's where the where most of our Green Berets or Special Forces in Army specific are trained at, and then we have some other well-known organizations that we can't really talk about, but they're there also. A lot of those guys do a lot of the unconventional training, and just by being there, like I was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division, and then and assigned to another unit that supported the 82nd Division. So a lot of what the Special Forces does just basically bleeds and comes down the street. So a lot of it is adapted just by the people we know. A lot of my friends that I served with there the first time end up working and becoming Green Berets, so to speak. And a lot of that stuff they would share with us. So on that base, guys meditating and yoga and all that type of stuff is not really, it's a problem. Now in the division, which is very 82nd Airborne Division, which is very regimented, and it's very has a lot of traditions going back, farther in World War I. They will give you a little bit of hazing for that stuff. But if you go to the studio, you'll see him in there in the yoga studio, or you'll see him meditating. So yeah, it's a love and hate, but actually all that stuff really works. So guys are gonna do it if it works. So.
And do you find, have you ever, um, experienced PTSD?
I have what the Army calls an adjustment disorder. And I never classified it, myself as PTSD. I was very weary about that, coming out of the military. Everyone who exits out the military, just to set it up, everyone who exits out the military is screened medically, both physically and mentally, they're screened. And then that is, whatever is the outcome of that screening. They basically will take a look at everything you've done over the X amount of years that you were in the military. And this doesn't go just for guys who retired, it's for anybody. You could have been in the Army 5 days. So what they'll do is they'll look at your entire record. They'll do another initial screening. They'll give you mental evals and some other stuff, and then you're awarded a percentage of money as well as any follow-on care that you can get in the Veterans Affairs on the outside. And so going through that, I had dealt with some deaths of some friends in Afghanistan in 2007 and eight. We spent a 15-month tour there. So I had a couple people that were pretty close that I knew that died, and then a little later, I had a soldier of mine die in 2012. Um, so being seen by behavioral specialist, um, and so I had monitored some of my friends, but I did know that I had something going on with me, and PTSD wasn't. I didn't have it as what you see on the outside now, or what you see a lot of guys do, but I was suffering from depression. I was clinically diagnosed as having, of some type of form of depression. And that's something I vocally speak about. I absolutely don't have a problem. A lot of guys, when they think about it, they're thinking it's the 18 and the 20-year-olds, but it's not. We just recently had a colonel kill himself, a very decorated military officer, brigade commander in charge of a lot of soldiers, probably about 4,000 soldiers, kill himself. So it's a face that doesn't just look like an 18, 19-year-old kid who experienced war. It comes from everyone. But yeah, clinically depressed, I would say a lot of people are clinically depressed, and but I would just say I suffer from depression, not PTSD. So yeah.
Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
We can hear you. We can sort of
Slowly
see
coming into focus.
you. I do love that you said, "Let's give it a burl."
Yeah, I get that Australian slang from Lily. I
Yeah,
listened to
that's right.
her anchors. Yeah, she said that. Let's give it a burrow.
When I saw it come through, I started laughing. Tristan was in the middle of saying something, and so I had to explain why I was laughing at you saying, "Give it a burl."
Wait, it's not something that everyone says?
So,
It just sounds a little choppy. Go ahead. I think I can hear you. Go ahead.
so I think where we kind of lost you, unfortunately, was where we were talking about um, PTSD and your experiences with
Mhm.
that, and um,
I think we caught the
yeah,
end of it when you were talking about the screening that you get, no matter how long you've been in the army. Um, I had a question regarding that. So, does that happen just once you're finished, or do they keep an eye on you, so to speak, for an extended period of time after you leave?
Yeah, so depending on the type of unit you're in, it's how much you'll be screened. They pretty much stay on top of everyone because they know it's just it's so much going on with PTSD. So they're pretty much looking at you a lot. But the more in the more elite that your unit is, the more they know. There's enough stress in the military already, and then with all the training they do, it's a lot of stress. So they're always going to, always watching you and checking you out. But anyone can go to behavioral health, is what it's called, uh, and a lot of times they won't talk to your commanders, or anyone like that, just in case some type of, they figure there might be a backlash or anything. But it's just like the regular, after client purpose, you're not going to talk unless you plan hurting yourself or someone or like that. That's when it will. But once you get out, that initial screening, well, not initial, that final screening is done. It's done by the military itself. It's done by the chief affairs. And then you're given your percentage and your whatever type of level care. And then you're at the mercy of trying to get into the VA. And if you've seen the news, you see how infamous our VA system is. It's a lot of great people trying to do a job, but it's just not up to the level of care what it needs. And you're talking about, a various range of ages of people who have seen a lot of different traumatic things. And I'm not, when I say traumatic, I'm not just speaking about the guys who actually were out there pulling the trigger. You can be anybody on the base. You could be a cook making food, and those bombs, those bullets, those IEDs, none of that, you know, doesn't differentiate between you being a cook and you being a trigger puller. I've seen PTSD in people who just stood at the gate all the time. Nowhere in that country are you going, or any country that we were in, are you going to not be affected by war somehow. So yeah, there's a lot of groups that are out there that are looking to help soldiers. There's some new ones I just saw. A friend of mine who was in the Marines, who spent some time in Fallujah. When that was really in the height of the Iraq War. He's in an organization, and I'm sorry, it slips my mind now. I find it, but he's in an organization now that takes guys out, and they hike, and they talk about their problems and stuff like that. And the culmination of it is trying to break through that barrier of that mental stigma. So there's a lot of good programs that are not nonprofit that are helping, and then the VA is trying to catch up too. So yeah.
And what's your personal experience with it? So I know you were talking, I think, and that was where we kind of lost you before, was when
Okay.
you were talking a little bit about your personal experience with depression, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, just to put it in context, the first 10, 11 years of my military career, very peaceful. You're talking 1992 to about 2001. It was very peaceful. There wasn't a lot going on. We were doing peacetime missions, 6 months, in different places in the world, but it was very peaceful. And I got, to the war really, at 2004, 2005. I spent a couple months in Iraq. Really didn't see a lot. We were there just for the surge that's going on with the election. And then the unit changed names, wrapped up a mission to do a 15-month tour in Afghanistan. And that was, I would say, the hardest 15 months. I spent 12 of that 15 months there. But that was a hard tour. We got there in February, and in April we had lost our first two people. People that I had known, one I really known pretty well. And both of them dying in the same day within hours really affected my unit. You're talking about a unit of guys who have history that goes back to World War II. Operation Market Garden and stuff like that, and haven't had real huge casualties like that in years. And we suffering our defeat, a couple months in, to a long tour. And we mourned, we dealt with it, and we moved on. And that's systematically how it was, even though we were still losing people throughout that year, or a year and a half, so to speak. But coming back, none of us really dealt with it. We kind of moved on. Everyone moved on to different units and did different things. And, I didn't even come to terms with it until almost 2013. It was a year after me losing a soldier in a peacetime training event. Basically, he was driving down the road on a convoy, military convoy, a bunch of vehicles driving. And he got hit. Him and another one of my soldiers got hit by an 18-wheeler, and he was sitting in the back seat, and it killed him. Another soldier who was driving it amputated him from his legs, both of his legs, and then one of my other soldiers threw him out the window. And even in that instance, we didn't take a pause. You have what's in the military called pause-X. You take your pause and you stop and you reassess. We didn't do a pause. We dealt with that. We planned the memorial. I took his body back to Miami. And then I came back and it was business as usual. And I think what happened to me was I was losing a lot of sleep. I was having short-term memory. I couldn't remember anything. And finally I just, I snuck away and I went to the doctor and I talked to the doctor. He's like, yeah, this is what's going on. He's like, you're not dealing with these traumatic events. You're not, And they put me on the medicine that knocked me out for 8-9 hours a night, and they had me deal with it. And I, consistently for that last 6 months I was in Germany, met a doctor who really had to help me break through and realize what was going on with me, and and then I hit it. I hit it for another 2 years before I retired. Because I didn't know what the military was going to do. I didn't know if they were going to put me out. I didn't know if they were going to allow me to be in the positions that I wanted to be in. And so I basically hid it, honestly, until it was almost time for me to get out. And then I started talking about it and writing about it. And some it didn't go over too well with some people. But, when you're on your way out the door, you don't really care anymore. So.
What kind of things did you write about, or a book, or just articles, blogs? What did you write?
On my blog, I used to have a blog called Living the Dream on WordPress. I moved my home into LVereen.com, but I used to have a blog called Living the Dream. And in September of 2014, the job I was in at that time was coming to an end. And I remember sitting around talking to my wife, and she's like, I was talking about the writing thing that I'd done. And she's like, well, you should just start a blog. And in that September, 2014, I started a blog and I started writing. And it was basically everything that the doctor was telling me to write in my book, or my journal, I was starting to put it out. Having conversations, I would, if us three were having a conversation, and you mentioned an issue you were having, I would write about that issue, and then you might read it one day, but yeah, that I was writing stuff like that about things I was hearing plus things I was going through. And finally, I think it was around late to or early 2015, I wrote a blog basically just saying I have depression. I basically just put it out there, and I put it around different social media channels, and it was received well. But it wasn't received well by the people that I thought he wasn't going to like it anyway. I had something, and no one outright came out and told me they had too many issues with it, but they just didn't like the light that I was shining on, depression in the military. And I basically just told them, this is just part of my recovery. This is just part of my process. I have to put it out there. And then recently I wrote about masculinity and sensitivity and spoke a little bit more about that to a friend of mine's, Shauna Ayub Ainsley. She has a magazine or a blog called The Honey Club. And I wrote recently about it on there. And I've just got a couple more pieces that I just want to, just write. And my main purpose of that is just showing that, there's more faces to this depression. It's not about, just like I said before, the young kids. It's about, more seasoned people who have depression too. And, we're not all, steely-eyed, war-fighting, trigger-pulling, killers. Some of them just didn't have a job like that, had the opportunity to be around that, still were affected by it. So that's the main thing. And I'm going to put those pieces on Medium pretty soon, just to put more of attention to it, to bring it about. So, yeah.
And so, how do you find using something like Anchor?
So honestly, I love Anchor, and the reason why I love Anchor, is I didn't really like Twitter, and I almost feel like I tell a lot of people who ask me about Anchor, I say it's a Twitter for the voice. Instead of 140 characters, you're getting 2 minutes to say what you want to say and just put it out. I've actually used it to be able to express what I'm writing or what I'm currently writing about. And it's almost just to gauge, a sense of what people are thinking about, things that I write. And it's actually helped a lot because some of the pieces that I put out later, in fact, when I'm about the masculine sensitivity that I put on Huffington Post, because I write for Huffington Post, it actually did a lot better than I thought, views-wise. Just with the simple fact is that Anchor has been that way to get a quick reaction from someone rather than going back, checking and seeing if they read it and they left a comment and all. And Anchor has helped that a lot. And Anchor has helped me kind of get a lot of the things that are in my head out a lot, especially with the movement that I'm doing. That's what I used to do with my soldiers a lot. In the military, is I would put out a little bit of, little jewels, we call them, throughout the day on Monday, and it's always was good practice because even though I'm putting it out to the soldiers, I'm actually talking to myself a lot of times too. So that's why I really like Anchor because I have a chance to talk to a lot of different people and get their feedback. Regardless of some things it's negative, I don't think it's negative because it's just that person's opinion. And that's how they feel about it. Instead of them reading it and then dropping a comment, they can actually tell me right there in a minute, and I know exactly how they felt about it. So I enjoy myself on it.
And do you get many people talk to you about your military experiences, or are they mostly asking about other things?
No, a lot of them. Almost every conversation, not my particular own waves, but a lot of the conversations I end up getting in, somehow it comes out in the conversation, and then the whole conversation shifts to, well, thank you for your service, you do this, you sacrifice, and let me ask you about this. And honestly, I don't have a problem talking to people about it. I actually enjoy it. I don't want people to just think that the military is this one-sided, machine, like I said, I never had a problem talking about it. But a lot of people ask me about it. And it's a lot of times it's more about the leadership. It's not really so much about what did I do day to day, or how were deployments and stuff like that. It's mostly about the leadership aspect of it, which is done pretty well. So.
Okay. So on that point, what do you think the lessons around leadership in the military have taught you for life outside the military?
I think the top one's always going to be the self-discipline. It's always going to be that you have that instilled discipline. Now, whether people decide you or not is totally different. But self-discipline is always going to be the top thing. It's going to give you a regimented life where you are not going to you're going to play by the rules regardless. You're gonna look at the rules that whatever organization you're in, and you're gonna play to those rules. You're not gonna cry. You're not gonna whine about it as much. If you do, you're not gonna do it in front of your boss. But it's gonna give you a regimented type of life. And then you're gonna do what I always call. And I was talking to someone earlier about this. You're gonna embrace the suck. Embracing the suck is basically whatever it is, you're gonna do it. You don't care. You're not gonna whine about it. You're not gonna be, oh, I gotta go home. Martha wants to eat dinner tonight. You're just gonna embrace the suck. You're just gonna do it. That's something we do, and that goes back to the muscle memory that I talked about before, embracing the suck. And half the times when we're doing it, you're gonna crack a joke about it, and you can do it. You're not gonna really get upset about it. And that's where kind of going back to the living the dream. That's where the living the dream. It's really a sarcastic saying we used to say in the military. We would be in the worst conditions, in a horrible place, and someone would, some smart ass would walk by and be like, "Hey, what's going on? How you doing?" And he'd be living the dream. Even though everyone's sucking, that was the thing, was living the dream. So a lot of my friends, when they see that vlog, they laugh because they remember when we used to say that a lot. But yeah, the military it just teaches us to have perseverance, to persevere through whatever it is, however long it's gonna take. We're just gonna get through it. We're not gonna give up. So yeah.
And do you feel like that's something you share or teach other people now?
Yeah, I try to do that a lot, especially with the blended mindset that I do on Anchor, and then a lot of my writing, especially when I talk about, I did a piece not too long ago on 86,400 seconds in a day, and I kind of just had to break it down to the point and just people that all the whining that you're doing right now, you're taking away from productive time and energy that you could be doing something else, and I try to put it in that way where it's a little bit of a drill sergeant, but at the same time, someone who's almost on teetering to coddling you, but at the same time pushing you, to get you to do what you need to do. And I think a lot of people, respond to it pretty well. Women respond to it better than men, though. Most of my readers are 97% women. I think the guys just get mad because they don't want somebody telling them what to do all the time. But yeah, but a lot of people honestly they just like it, and I just try to be matter of fact. I try to be matter of fact about it, and just tell people, hey, this is what's going on. And I don't do because I have friends who wrote before. They'll do while you're sucking and complaining, some kids over here in Cambodia learn how to kill you. I don't do stuff like that. That's I don't need to pit one person against another person like that. I just use a generalization to tell you that while you're sitting here wasting your seconds, someone else is actually becoming better at what they want to do. So do you sit here and keep complaining, or do you act up and go do it?
It's really interesting. I think in the last maybe day or two, I came across this. I think it was a web app, and it's very similar to the seconds thing, the number of seconds in a day. But it was it creates a grid of weeks in your life. So it has 52 in one row, and then each column. In one row, and then each row is a full year. So it's, when you look at your life like that, as you know, it's very finite. You know, this is like the
Mhm.
expected age that people would live to, and you can see that it's countable. You know, it's not something that's just this, you know, far off. It's, you know, it's too far off for me to think about kind of time. It's right there for you to. It's tangible. You know. And
Yeah.
I think the app was, you know, you can kind of mark if you've had like a really good week or whatever, you can track how you're going. So it's got that kind of motivational aspect to it. But it totally resonates with me, that whole number of seconds in a day thing, where you really need to make each, whether it's a second in a day or each week, count. Because, you know, when it's just laid out bare for you, you kind of go,
Yeah.
shit, like that's all I've got, you know?
Yeah. 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 I told somebody the other day, they were complaining, like, you know, they're like, oh, man, I'm just having a bad day. I'm just having a bad day, man. And I'm like, dude, there's only bad seconds, and seconds are over quick. So you can sit here and complain, you know, about the other seconds that you got, but just about the amount of time that you just complained, we could actually be doing something else. So it's just, and it's something I just started recently, just really diving into is something I'm telling my wife too, is time is currency. Before, when I was in the military, I thought that I was going to live forever. You know, I jumped out of airplanes. I've had some concussions, but none of that scared me. You know, none of that really scared me. And so when my friends died, though, I started to realize that this thing that I've been doing for these 12 and 13 years actually has an expiration date on it. You know, you can actually die doing this. And that's when I started cherishing my part. But what I did was I started trying to be better at my craft rather than trying to be better at being a regular person, you know? But the retirement showed me that time really is currency. You have to be not so much productive like I've got to be doing something all the time, but, you know, being productive and feeding your mind and being productive and making you better at whatever you're doing. So the time and currency is a big thing with me. And that's what I tell my guys at work is you say you're having a bad day, it's just a bad couple seconds. Because 5 minutes from now, you could get that call, or you could get something that'll happen to you that'll completely change your entire, you know, outlook on that day. So don't, you know, just the time I just said that, that's in the past already. So now we're moving on, and now we're doing something else. So I try to get people in that type of frame of mind that you control everything that you do. You control whether you're going to have a bad day or not. Not really anyone else, and no one else can really tell you you're going to have a bad day. So that's just me and wishful thinking, but.
I think, you know, and I think that's, I mean, you probably feel this way as well about Anchor, in that the community is just unlike any other, in that I genuinely feel like 90%, maybe 95% of the community is like positive. They want to do good things.
Yeah, yeah. There's some trolls out there. I haven't ran across any. I hear, and I think they must mess with the women, because a couple of women have said they ran across the trolls. I haven't personally ran. Some people who are a little bit brash and blunt, I don't have a problem with that, because that's just the type of world that I came from. But yeah, you're right. There's 98%. I say, and I would even say, venture to say 99% of the community is very, very positive. And you know, I'm just having a great time on there, and it's funny because the people I can talk to on Anchor are not like any other social media group that I'm with, you know, on Twitter or Facebook or things like that. It's just people. Something about the people on Anchor, you know, is just, I don't know. You can't even really describe it. Can't really describe it.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely feel that as well. So, Antonio, what is it that you're doing in Saudi Arabia?
Yeah. So what I do is I am a program manager over to work my corporation aviation service company or corporation. Basically, what we do is we provide aviation services for commercial aerospace as well as government and defense, no matter, you know, anywhere in the world. We're a global company. So what I do is I manage the logistics and the supply chain of the starting Army National Guard. They don't have a regular Army in the sense of like you all do and we do. They have a National Guard, and it's basically just to protect their country. So I work in the aviation wing part of that, and I support another company. And we basically run their warehouses, run their logistics, transportation. We run all their supply chain, and we advise them on a thing that it's being called Saudization, bringing them into the modern age. So that's what we do here, in a nutshell. So it's basically relying on all the past military knowledge, and then just helping the Saudis get to where they need to be.
Okay, great. And
Yeah.
what about what's your goal with your writing?
Yes, goal with the writing is HR allows me to do this because I'm under contract, so I have to play with HR. It's just to basically just do a little bit of one-on-one coaching, do a little bit of consultancy work in a couple of years, but mainly now is just to write like crazy, do a little bit of freelancing. I have clauses, so many hours, so many hours a month within that hours, because I'm a management employee. So and I have what's called the exempt hours, so I don't have a set hours as far as working. So that's the biggest thing right now for the first year. So it's mainly to get my name out there a little bit more, and to do some freelance work, write for a couple of different people. I'm looking at, I'm just gonna put it out there. Burning my boats early. I want to try to write for the Good Man project. I want to write for Tiny Buddha and some of those guys like that, and just to get the name out there, and then just do one-on-one stuff with some people who are just working through some things. I'm not really concerned about the money. I'm making a damn penny that I don't really need to worry about the money. I just want to help people and just, develop some type of workbooks and some different things like that I've got going on, and just to put out some good information is to help people using all that experience I got from the military.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Antonio, what we might do is, as we've done in our past interviews, is kind of finish with 5 of our crucial questions, if that's okay. So,
Yeah.
and I guess to give you a little history, these questions are sort of have been written or are being built at the moment to be part of the software that we bring out and the tools that we bring out to be able to help with personal and professional development. So we'll see how we go, huh?
Okay.
So the first question I want to ask you is, how's your attitude today, and what do you think motivated that?
You said, how's my attitude?
Yeah, and what do you think motivated that today?
I knew I was coming on the Crucial Team podcast, so that got me hyped, right off the top. Yeah, high up top. It's every day my attitude is fabulous because I'm still above ground, man. To be totally honest with you, I just have a bad day. I've had bad. I get up, I say, I do that thing to create the universe. I thank my family, my friends, and I always say I thank the people I'm going to meet and how I can help them live a better life and how they help me live a better life. Honestly, I'm in a stressful job, but I'm not stressed. I'm living in a beautiful villa. I'm catered to. I'm doing good, so I have no complaints. My attitude is just like this, man. It's always just not stressed. I'm living good. So, yeah, great attitude.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, all right, my question. Let's see what we have here. Who most recently has given you praise, and why did they praise you?
You said who recently?
Who has most recently given you praise, and why did they give you praise?
Probably my director of operations, the guy that hired and brought me in. I'm not gonna say his name, but yeah, he just a short story. He didn't want to. He interviewed me. He put me through the grinder. I didn't get the job. I was upset. And then it came back a month later, and they brought me back on. I guess the other guy just didn't work. I just decided to get me back. And then I spent there in Chicago area with them, and he put me through the more grinder, gave me homework every night and everything. But since I've been out here, it's, I had a lot of people may have had a difficulty with working for, but he's done nothing but give me praise. I've only been in this job almost 6 months, and I'm not I like praise though. I'm a big self gratification person, but he's consistently through emails, through talking, through our weekly chats. I mean, the guys can rant and vent and stuff like that when I have little small issues. But I'm very grateful for him for bringing me on, and then consistently always giving me praise, like in emails, everything. He's always giving me praise. So yeah, I'm my director of ops.
Awesome. What do you think matters most to you right now, and why?
Oh man. It might sound cliche, but it's always going to go back to family. But even family, just to give it more context, it's about the legacy I want to leave for my kids. It's I I don't know if you know Damon Dash. He used to run Rockefeller with Jay Z.
Yeah.
Familiar with him? Yeah, everybody's infamous. Everybody knows him. He said something. I think it was earlier last year. He said. On a popular show in New York called The Breakfast Club, he said, "I hustle for my last name, not my first." And I kind of took that to heart, and I drilled down even more into it, and I realized that I have a wife and three daughters, a 17, a 6, and a 3-year-old, and my wife. That's all that really matters to me. But leaving a legacy, not just a monetary wealth, but just leaving a legacy of passion, and perseverance and empathy. I want to leave all that stuff, but it be tied to my name, to Vereen. I want my kids to be proud to be a Vereen. So that's what I really, through my writing and the stuff that I do in this company and stuff like that. That's what's important to me. Family.
So, do you find yourself actively seeking ways to challenge yourself? So,
Yeah.
outside
Yeah.
of the army, that's challenging in itself. I assume
Mm.
you know any job outside of that must seem like a step down. I can imagine, but yeah, how do you challenge yourself?
How do I challenge myself? Um, It's just a lot. I try to feed my brain all the time because I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of things when I was in the military. And if I did it, try to be up. Like I read a lot of General those books and Robert Gates books and stuff like that because I wanted to be a well versed person in my own craft. But now I challenge myself physically. I slow down a lot because I just didn't want to put up with that regime anymore. But just in day to day challenging myself, it's going to be, I'm reading like 3 books right now, and I'm doing some writing. I'm working on a little, I call it a memoir, but just some stories of things I've gone through, some challenges. Just try to tie it into something for the leadership. And at the same time, I'm learning Arabic, and I picked Spanish back up again. So I'm trying to consistently always challenge myself. And Arabic is a challenge that is ridiculous. It is a very difficult language, but I've got some pretty good translators and some people that I know that I'm actually able to immerse myself in the culture and learn. And then I'm a person that likes to go out by himself. So I let my people know where I am. I'm traveling throughout the city of Riyadh and the outskirts a lot, just to immerse myself in the culture. I'm not going where ISIS is, but I'm going where I can be comfortable. But yeah, just a lot of reading, man, and challenge myself mentally.
The last question I ask you
Hmm.
is, maybe it's challenging and maybe it's an easy one, but What I'd like to know is, are you showing yourself enough love, and why or why not?
Am I showing myself enough love?
Yeah,
Honestly, I think I am, and that's a deep one, man. That's the first time someone ever asked me that.
That's a tough
Yeah,
one.
I think I am. Yeah, I think I am. I don't think I'm. I don't. When I first got diagnosed with depression, I was very hard on myself, and for a long time before I met my wife. I met my wife in 2005. I was a very pessimistic person. I was married to someone else in the military, and it just didn't work, and I was very pessimistic. Nothing went right. It was the man was after me, the government was keeping me down, all that hoopla. I was very pessimistic, and meeting my wife and developing a relationship with her, and then her allowing me to have my creative side come out and writing and encouraging me, and stuff like that, and being a harsh critic to the writing, it just allowed me to not be so hard on myself, you know. And so, yeah, I show up myself all the time. I'm not a person that talks down on myself, and I'm looking for ways to make excuses, you know. I learn from my mistakes and I move on, but yeah, I'm showing myself love. Absolutely.
that's awesome. No, like I really think that was considering your reaction to the question, that was an amazing answer. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Is there anything that you wanted to ask Tristan or myself?
No, I just wanted to thank y'all for the opportunity. Definitely want to check out. I heard you all say you were in personal development and stuff like that, so I definitely want to check you guys out, and help in any way I can, support in any way I can. I try to do that a lot with people I meet. Give them shout outs on my different social media areas and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely I appreciate the opportunity to come on and spill my heart out, so to speak, and show some love and gratitude. So I appreciate both of you.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm just glad I got to meet you. Obviously, you've had a lot of contact with Brett. I feel like every time we have one of these meetings, it's always because I'm the behind the scenes person working more technical sided. It's always Brett who's extending that arm to everyone out in the world and saying, "Hey, this is us.
Right.
This is what we do." So it's really fantastic. Just getting to have these conversations, and getting to talk with such amazing and interesting people. Who would have thought? Like I came home from work. It's my second last day. Picked up my girlfriend from work, went home, fed the animals, came here, and now I'm talking to someone who's in Saudi Arabia who used to be in the U.S. military with so much valuable information to share. It's crazy. So thank you for
That's
that.
the day. Yeah, you maximize your 86,400 a day, huh?
Yeah, we're trying.
Yeah, I hear you.
Well, listen, thank you so much, Antonio. We really appreciate your time, and
Yeah, thank you guys.
we look forward to speaking to you some more on Anchor.
All right. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right now. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.